Welcome to CLA 215, Section 12, The Normative Theories of the Press. Introduction. Culture and communication share symbiotic relationships. Communication recreates and sustains culture, while culture gives meanings to communication symbols as used in a given cultural setting. The pattern of communication and overall conduct of the mass media in a social setting are shaped by the social cultural structure of that society. This contextual influence of society on communication systems is the thrust of the normative theories of the press. Therefore, in this study session and the next one, we shall discuss the various normative theories of the press and situate them in our social context. Learning outcome. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Explain what theories are. 2. Identify and explain the normative theories. Meaning of theory. Theories are a product of rigorous research. Statements that have been tested and retested and have been accepted as having explanatory and predictive qualities. Severin and Tankard, 2001, define theory as a general statement that explains our understanding or perception of how the world works. Kurt Revon, cited by Folarin, 1998, describes theory as a way of explaining the ordering and occurrence of various events. Theory can be defined as a body of propositions or any systematic body of ideas that have been validated, that is proven by empirical evidences, which can help make meaning of a phenomenon, predict a consequence, or guide action. Theory can also be defined as a body of systematic, scientific, and formal propositions that help to give explanation to certain phenomena or make predictions. There are various theories in the field of mass communication, and these theories, according to their nature or attributes, are categorized into 4 broad categories. The normative theories, the social scientific theories, that is, media effect, the working theories, the common sense theories. Under the normative theory, we have authoritarian theory, libertarian theory, that is, free press, social responsibility theory, Soviet totalitarianism or communist theory, democratic participant theory, development media theory, revolutionary theory. Under the social scientific theories, we have instinctive exerve theory, we have two-step theory, we have agenda 13 theory. Under the working theories, we have gatekeeping theory, socialization theory, generalization theory. Under the common sense theories, we have play theory, environmental or sense extension theory, reflective projective theory, etc. The normative theory of the press. The normative theories are the press theories that are concerned with prescribing how mass media are expected to operate given certain privileged social values in the social environment. They are the products of broader social ideology and philosophy of a given society. The basic assumption of these normative theories is that the press in a given society takes the coloration of the social norms of the environment within which it operates, that is, the type of political system, social ideology, and philosophy that are in operation in a given society will determine largely the nature and operational system of its media structure. Therefore, according to the normative theories, the operations and structures of this mass media are bound to vary from one society, that is country, to another because each society has its peculiar political system, social ideology, and cultural values or norms. The press in the USA would have different operational system and structure compared to what obtains in Cuba, Nigeria, Russia, or Saudi Arabia. The operation of the press under the military Nigeria was different from what obtains in the current democratic dispensation. Let us discuss some of the normative theories in this study session. The authoritarian theory. This theory emerged from the state philosophy of absolutism, which states that just a few individuals in the human society have the monopoly of knowledge. These few people are regarded as sages or philosopher kings, who have natural capability and responsibility to run the affairs of the state and by exaction, the press. The press is seen as a state property, which is crucial to the state's survival to be entrusted in the hand of the masses. It is only the government, or at least those few individuals who are loyal to the government, that have the right to own and operate the press in the interest of the state. The press' absolute function is to serve the interests of the state. This theory dated back to the 16th century, when monarchy was the prevalent system of government in Europe and other parts of the world. The theory still operates till today in countries where monarchy is the system of government, e.g., Saudi Arabia, Spain, Morocco, and Britain. However, with some modifications because of the global trends of democracy, under the military regime in Nigeria, the authoritarian system was in operation. In a country that practices authoritarian system, the mass media has only as much freedom as the natural leadership is willing to permit. The libertarian theory. This theory emerged in the 17th century as a protest against the shortcomings of authoritarianism, when monarchy was the predominant style of governance in Europe. Under authoritarianism, the state and few individuals that were presumed loyal to the state owned the media. Access to the press and press freedom were the extreme luxury of the ruling elite. Quest for press freedom brought about the libertarian movement championed by John Stuart Mill, Thomas Jefferson, John Milton, and John Locke. After 1688, theory was adopted by England and the US. Fundamental tenets of this theory are that the press are expected to inform, entertain, sell, and chiefly to help check the government by discovering the truth and make it a public property. The theory holds that man is a rational being who possesses the natural thinking and decision-making capability. That is, man is naturally capable of making decisions that will advance his interests, and by nature, man deserves some degree of freedom. It is therefore suggested that man should be given significant degree of freedom to protect and advance his interests. By implication, the media under the libertarian theory must be felt alone to constitute a free marketplace of diverse opinions or ideas. Instead of the government serving as the chief media umpire, it is the fundamental responsibility of the media to check the activities of the government and report any lapses to the public. The media now become the watchdog. Media ownership is open to everyone or those individuals who can afford to own the media, irrespective of their level of loyalty to the government. The media is controlled by the principle of self-writing process of truth in free marketplace of ideas, and the court serves as the neutral arbiter. However, the right to own or have free access to the media does not permit defamation, libel, and slander, obscenity, sedition, or indecency, as there are laws to take care of this aberration. The mass media under the libertarian theory perform 6 cardinal functions. They are: 1. Provide public enlightenment. 2. Serve the political system, the right to talk politics. 3. Serve the economic system. 4. Safeguard civil liberty by serving as people's parliament. 5. Provide entertainment. 6. Mix profit to stay afloat in the market. The Soviet totalitarian theory. The theory is also called the Soviet communist media theory. Theory emerged in the former defunct USSR when the Russian media was totally reorganized after the 1917 revolution. The fundamental principle of this theory is that the state, the government, should have absolute control of the media and every other means of production. All resources, including the press or media, belong to the state. The ruling Communist Party of the then USSR completely owned and controlled the press. There should be no private ownership or proprietorship, no private shareholders, etc. Apart from the state, no matter how loyal or rich an individual may appear, it cannot be trusted with the responsibility of media ownership and control, unlike what obtains in the authoritarian theory, where some rich individuals that are considered loyal to the ruling class are allowed to own media organizations. The theory gives the citizens the access to the media because the media is the state property. However, anti-communist interests or opinions are prevented from getting to the media. The totalitarian theory sees the media as an organ of the government and is owned completely by the government to propagate the communist philosophies of collective ownership. Therefore, the press in the communist concept is the agitator, propagandist, and organizer who only projects the interests and policies of the ruling elite. The press is not to search for truth, but to help control the society. Information of interest and importance to the masses is not necessarily news to the media under totalitarianism, especially if in any way such information is considered potentially harmful or embarrassing to the leadership or the communist interest. Karl Marx, who was himself influenced by George Engel, influenced the communist theory. The exponents believed that if the media was left open to allow individual ownership, man's devilish intent to maximize profit at the expense of the absolute majority would overshadow the fundamental responsibility of the press, which according to the communists was to serve the state by promoting the communist principle and policies. The social responsibility theory. The theory emerged as a response to the high technological development, which made the cost of establishing and managing the press very higher and virtually prohibitive. The press became more commercially inclined, and the power to own the media was concentrated in the hands of a few rich. Consequently, access to the press by the public became increasingly limited, and open criticism or alternative view or opinions became relegated. The social responsibility theory was first articulated in 1947 in USA in the content of the Hutchins Commission's report on a free and responsible press. Theory holds the view that it is the primary responsibility of the press to service, promote, and preserve democracy by providing information to the citizens and by promptly responding to the need of the society. The theory contends that for the press to effectively promote democracy, absolute ownership and control of the press by the state should be removed. The press should be as free as possible, however, with some limits. The theory of social responsibility involved a view of media ownership as a form of public trust or stewardship rather than an unlimited private franchise. Tenets of social responsibility theory are: 1. The media have obligations to society and media ownership is a public trust. 2. News media should be truthful, accurate, fair, objective, and relevant. 3. The media should be free but self-regulated. 4. The media should follow agreed codes of ethics and professional conduct. Under some circumstances, government may need to intervene to safeguard the public interest. The theory argues that the press should be socially responsible for taking up the obligation of social responsibility by exposing the citizens to all kinds of information and diverse opinions, and by letting the people decide for themselves. However, if the press fails to perform these social responsibilities, someone may ensure that they comply. Therefore, the social responsibility theory subscribes to government involvement in media ownership and operation. Both the government and the private individuals can establish media outfits, but it is the responsibility of the government to issue license and regulations in order to ensure that public interest is properly and adequately catered for by the private media organizations. In Nigeria, for example, the federal government established the NBC, National Broadcasting Commission, and the NPC, National Press Council, to issue licenses and to regulate the operations of the broadcast programming and print media publications, respectively. The NBC was established by the Decree 38 of 1992 under the federal military government of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Theory shares some elements of libertarianism and possibly that of totalitarian theories. Although the media was free under the libertarian theory, Hutchins Commission questioned whether the media under libertarianism theory was really working, whether the press performed its statutory roles by giving everybody access to express their opinions and to get enough information in a free, fair manner. In order to correct the weaknesses of the libertarianism theory, government should not completely withdraw from the management and operation of the press. Democratic participant media theory. The democratic participant media theory is not among the traditional four normative theories: the authoritarian, the libertarian, the Soviet communist, and the social responsibility media theories, as identified by Seibert, Peterson, and Schramm in the 1950s. It is one of the emerging normative theories. The other two are development media theory and revolutionary media theory. As the name implies, the democratic participant theory prescribes the restructuring of the media terrain in such a way that citizens would have better control of and more access to the media. In essence, the social system should allow true democratization of the media structure so that the characteristic bureaucracy, commercialization, and professional hegemony in media structure are removed and reduced. Development theory. This theory is recent, and it came with the attainment of independence by the poor developing nations of the Third World, where the primary preoccupation of the government is to achieve meaningful development that will make them look like the developed nations. A situation where poverty is reduced or eliminated and the people experience overall improvement in every sphere of their lives. The central thrust of this theory is that the government should mobilize the press to achieve the state's development goals, such as eradication of poverty, fighting illiteracy, building political consciousness, assisting economic advancement, and good health care. The theory is peculiar to the so-called underdeveloped and developing nations of Africa and Asia. It has some element of authoritarianism because the government usually puts the press under constant monitoring, both public and private media, to ensure they promote the development objectives of the state. The theory has two variants that operate with different degrees of state control. Folarin, 1998. 1. Liberal development journalism. It is called investigative development journalism. The press works in the interest of the state to promote development goals, but the journalists are relatively free to criticize government, investigate and report corruption to the people. They are constructive partners and stakeholders, but not passive servants in the process of national development. Number 2. Conservative development journalism. It is also called benevolent authoritarian development journalism. Here, the press also works in the interest of the state, but does not engage in investigative journalism to expose vices and make them public property. They serve the state more slavishly and less critically. Journalists do not see any reason to criticize the government, as the government consider the press as having no moral obligation to criticize government. They consider open criticism of government activities as anti-development. The revolutionary theory. This is a new concept that is underlined by the modern era of advanced technologies, where access to the media has become more open and the impact of the mass media is more pronounced. The revolutionary theory explains the concept of illegal and subversive communication using the press to overtake government or take control from the rejected or foreign rulers. When the people feel that their government is no more responsible or does not have the popular legitimacy and mandate to rule, they use the press to subvert such government. Illegal and underground, that is, guerrilla journalism, operations such as secret publication of illegal magazines or newspapers, or transmission of broadcast programs from illegal stations are attributes of the press under the revolutionary concept. Study session summary. In this study session, we have looked at some definitions of theory. We identified the categories of media theories. Then we discussed the meaning of normative theories. Specifically, in this study session, we have identified and discussed three of the normative theories. These are the authoritarian theory, the libertarian theory, and the Soviet totalitarian theory. We have also discussed the social responsibility theory and the democratic participant media theory. The major tenets of the social responsibility theory are that it gives freedom to the press to operate, and at the same time, it requires the press to be socially responsible. To ensure media organizations are responsible, the theory provides for establishment of regulating agencies to supervise issuance of license and to monitor contents of the media. The democratic participant theory, on the other hand, prescribes the restructuring of the media terrain in such a way that citizens would have better control of and more access to the media and fully participate in the democratic project of the country. We have also discussed the development theory and revolutionary theory. The central thrust of the development theory is that the government should deploy the press to achieve the state's development goals, such as eradication of poverty, fighting illiteracy, building political consciousness, assisting economic advancement, and good health care. The revolutionary theory, on the other hand, explains the concept of illegal and subversive communication using the press to overtake government or take control from the rejected or foreign imperialists. End of study session 12. Thanks for listening.